Which corners run out first at Texas A&M's spring game will be the most significant storyline?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. And this episode is brought to you by our wonderful friends over at Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Today, we are going to discuss the 5 most significant storylines heading into Texas A&M spring game coming up on April 20th. So, we're about a month away from the spring game. And the number one storyline for me is going to be which corners go out first. I think this is going to say a lot about the outlook of the position. If it's guys that have been here, if it's Tariq Chappelle that goes out first, or maybe the young guys from last year, maybe it's Thomas goes out first, that would be interesting. Or do they just flat out say, hey, the transfers are going? Sometimes, and I think I think that some of these decisions are based on what the coaching staff is trying to show the fan base. So it's like, there's a lot of excitement about Des Ricks, right? Former 5-star, didn't get to do much at Alabama last year because they were talented at that position. Going to be a great player, right? A lot of excitement surrounding him. Throw him out there. And I think that is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, and then you add this point, can you put much stock into what happened in the spring game? And it's like, sometimes you can read between the lines, but you can't take everything from the spring game. It's interesting because it'll, of course, create a lot of fun conversations for us here at Locked On Aggies, but how much of it matters? What does it all mean? We just don't know yet until we see it play out. But I think which corners go out there first is going to say a lot. I'm excited to see who's out there. I really think you're going to see Will Lee and Des Ricks out there first. And I think if that's the case, I feel confident that they're going to start. I think sometimes coaches like to let the guys that were on the roster previously, and I know this is a new regime and all that. Sometimes the coaches like to let let players that were on the team go out there first in spring rather than the transfers, which then makes it confusing. It's like, oh, is Chappelle going to start? Is Rick's going to start? Is it going to be Will Lee? What's going to happen here? And I think that confuses some folks. But I think if Coach Elko throws out the transfers and just says, hey, go for it, I think that's going to say a lot about this room and where it's at. I think that, and I kind of think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to send out Ricks and Will Lee. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. Then you'll, of course, have Anderson at the nickel, and then you've got 2 of those transfers at safety, I think. So that's going to be interesting. That's the number one storyline I'm paying attention to. Number 2 is quarterback availability. I was thinking about it. This was part of our conversation with Chris Gordy, of the host of Locked On SEC the other day, which will be tomorrow's episode of Locked On Aggies. And, Chris was talking about how we were discussing quarterbacks, and I was talking about how, Weigman's going to be the guy, but is he healthy? And then I sat and thought about it. The interview of him talking about, well, I'm pretty much ready to go. You got to dot some I's and cross some T's when it comes to getting cleared by so-and-so. after that conversation, I feel a lot better about him being out there in the spring. I still haven't seen any kind of report on like Connor Weigman's good to go. Like I still haven't seen that. So if y'all have seen that, holler at me. But I still haven't. I check every day. Connor Weigman. Is there any kind of report? And then I don't see much. So I've changed my opinion. I'm starting to lean toward he's going to be out there. He's going to be okay for the start of spring. Now, of course, he's going to have on a non-contact jersey, and you're not going to be able to hammer the quarterback in spring. So, he's not going to have to worry about taking huge hits. But I still think that getting those reps in spring will be super valuable for him. Getting used to some of these young receivers, some of the transfer receivers, some of your guys who are now the dudes with Evan Stewart and Nia Smith gone. So, and then of course Jaylen Henderson, coming off the surgery on the broken arm. How's he doing? It wasn't his throwing arm, but it's still a problem. He's going to be able to catch snaps and tuck your arm when you're throwing. So that'll be interesting. I feel like Weigman has a better chance of being out there than Henderson, but that's going to be interesting because I think then you get some reps for Miles O'Neill. You get some reps for your young guys. This is going to be Marcel Reed's going to get a lot of snaps. This will be an interesting storyline heading into the spring game. Next thing I've got is linebacker. Is it Scooby Williams or is it Alex Howard next to Terry York, or is it maybe one of these young guys who's on campus? I mean, one of the guys that have been around for a little bit but haven't gotten a ton of snaps during their career. That is another interesting storyline. I've kind of leaned toward it being Scooby out there. I mean, that's kind of where my head's at. So I'm leaning towards Scooby being out there over Alex Howard, and I've changed my opinion on that. But either one of those guys, I think, has upside. I really like Alex Howard. I think Scooby Williams has more talent, more upside. Alex Howard has probably has a better floor. So that's something I'm paying attention to as well. And then how does the starting offensive line look? We feel pretty good about who the offensive line is going to be. Unless one of the, does a transfer sneak in, that's going to be part what we're paying attention to. But how does the starting O-line look? Are they looking dominant? One good thing about these reps, these valuable reps of spring practice and the spring game is you are going to be going against a really good defensive line, a defensive line that lost some pieces, but, led the SEC in sacks a year ago, and I think has a good chance to do it again this year. So if the offensive line holds up in the spring game, I think it says a lot about them being in a good spot. So that's something to pay attention to. If they don't hold up against, our defensive line, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to hit the panic button yet. I still think, you only got 15 of these practices in this game. I mean, this isn't everything. You've got a ton of practice left, a ton of development, a ton of lifting, a ton of getting yourself in better shape. There's a lot still left to do before you really strap it up for a real football game. So, but I'm anxious to see how the starting offensive line does. I think the starting offensive line is going to be pretty good this year, and I think I think Coach Cushing developing the offensive line is going to be what makes a difference. We talked about offensive line on yesterday's episode of Locked On Aggies, but I think it still has to move in that right direction. I'd love to see it look pretty good in the spring game, because if it doesn't, then we're talking, oh man, the offensive line got killed all practice long or all spring game long. What are we going to do? We're in trouble. I don't want that to be the storyline. I want the storyline for the next few months to be, hey, Texas A&M's offensive line looks really good. Looked good in the spring game against a defensive line full of talented players that should be one of the best defensive lines, front sevens in all college football, especially in the SEC. So that is something I'm paying attention to. And then lastly, what do the running back snaps look like? We think Smith is going to get involved from a little bit, the kid from Stanford. We still feel good about Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels and Reuben Owens. I still kind of think that Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens are going to separate themselves as the guys. But every time I thought that would happen a year ago, Amari Daniels would make good plays. He'd make a good play after good play after good play and keep his name in the rotation. So that's going to be something I'm paying attention to. Can a couple guys separate themselves in the running back room, or is this going to continue to be a four-headed monster and with 4 talented running backs, you've got a plethora of really good running backs. So it's going to be interesting to see how the snaps work between those guys and who kind of seems like running back 1, running back 2, based on the snaps in the spring game. So those are my 5 biggest storylines. Let me know in the comments one of y'all's biggest storylines. Any good ones that you think y'all are paying attention to. And then also, if you haven't hit that subscribe button or hit the like button on the video, it really does help. I would really appreciate it. If you hit one of those or both those buttons, it really does help the show grow. So I really appreciate that. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to break down March Madness and the Aggies matchup with Nebraska in the NCAA tournament. We will have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our wonderful friends over at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like all of the new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The Yukon Huskies can only be described as an armada. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they've landed the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the new favorites to win it all, despite 4 of the 6 Power 6 conference champions standing in their way in the East region. That region is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. Also want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're into betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. I put $5 on Texas A&M to win the national championship because why not? A lot of fun going on at over at FanDuel. What I always like to do, I pick each game from the round from each region. I do all the region games, and parlay who I think is going to win. Put a buck on it. It's a ton of fun. That's unrealistic, but it's fun trying to predict the upsets. They're going to happen. March is here, and we're getting ready to talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. Texas A&M versus Nebraska. Showdown of the ages. Nebraska has yet to win a NCAA tournament game. The way I understand this stat, Nebraska is the only Power 6 basketball team to not have won an NCAA tournament game. And that is a crazy stat. You don't want to let them get it against you. So looking at Nebraska, looking at their players, looking at them as a team, they got Tominaga. He can shoot. Dude can flat out spray the basketball, averaging 14.9 points per game, shooting 37% from 3. And I'm going to run through these players because we're talking about a common theme with this Nebraska basketball team. Then you got Bryce Williams, 13.1 points per game, 39% from 3. And then you've got their big guy, 6'10" Mast, 12.5 points per contest, 7.6 rebounds per contest. He leads the team in rebounds and assists, which is interesting because he averages like 3 assists a game. So they don't have a super high assist guy. But they turn the basketball over 11.1 times a game. They shoot 35.8% as a team from 3. They shoot 75.4% from the free throw line. Nebraska is 26th in the KenPom rankings. They are 38th in offense, 31st in defense. And then in their last 9 contests, they're 7-2. So we talk about, like Texas A&M, Nebraska is playing good basketball right now. So, they fall short to Illinois in the Big Ten championship. An Illinois team that went on, or I'm sorry, in the Big Ten semifinal. Of course, an Illinois team that went on to beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament final. So this is the stat that stands out about Nebraska. They're 26th in college hoops in 3-point attempts per game at 26.4. Nebraska loves to shoot the three ball. So, teams that live and die by the three, you need to know the way they play, and you need to know how to defend that. So what I mean by this is ball screens, you cannot go underneath them. Tominaga will make threes. Williams will make threes. They have a lot of guys who are 35% plus shooters from deep. You cannot go underneath those ball screens. If you go underneath ball screens, they will light you up from deep. Hey, they're going to shoot them. They're going to shoot 26. If they make 10, 12, 13 of them, you probably lose. If they make 5, 6, 7 of them, I think you got a pretty good chance. So you've got to know how they want to beat you. They want to beat you with the 3-point shot. Texas A&M is a different basketball team. They want to muck up a basketball game. They want to get offensive rebounds. They want to get extra possessions. They want to let their talented guards score the basketball. That is what they want to do. So these two teams play different styles of basketball. Nebraska turns it over, not a ton, but not a ton, kind of a normal, basketball teams like to have the turnovers be 10 or less. Nebraska's barely over that at 11.1. So they're liable to turn the basketball over some. So it's something to monitor there is the turnovers. I think that you're going to see, Texas A&M needs to turn up the defensive pressure. You let Florida score a lot of points. You let Florida get hot from deep. The last time we saw Texas A&M on the hardwood, Florida put up 95 points. So the key here is extending the 3-point line. Don't let them get off those ball screens and get wide open threes. They will kill you. You have got to defend the 3-point line well and say, hey, beat us down low. Make them beat you down low. I'll take Texas A&M in that battle all day long. So I think that it's the same story. You need Boots Radford, Wade Taylor, and of course, Manny Obaseki to play good basketball. If those three guys show up and you get 25 from Wade, 18 from Boots, and 14 from Manny, I'm feeling really good about Texas A&M winning this game, especially if Anderson Garcia does what he can do. He adds his offensive boards and give you 10 points. And then you get something from Solomon Washington. Can he give you 10 points? That is kind of what I'm paying attention to in this game is what can you get from, first of all, those three guys. You need Anderson Garcia to keep being a menace on the boards. I mean, his style of basketball is so beautiful. I mean, you just got to love what he does for a team. You need him to keep doing his thing, and you need your guards to score the rock. We've talked about it time and time again here at Locked On Aggies. What Texas A&M was doing wrong, there was no ball movement. The ball was staying in one place, and then Boots or Wade Taylor would try and make something happen with a crazy half-court shot or a crazy over hook shot from the 3-point line. I mean, you know what I mean? And I'm being sarcastic, but the point is they would just try and make something happen late in the shot clock. That basketball just doesn't work. You don't want to play that type of basketball. The key is ball movement, offensive rebounds, kickouts for threes, move the basketball. You've got three guards who are scoring points right now. You take advantage of that. Use your three guards. Get all of them involved, move the ball around, open threes, pull up jump shots, get to the rim, get Nebraska in foul trouble, and continue to grab offensive rebounds. That is how Texas A&M is going to win this basketball game and pull off what isn't really an upset. Right now, Nebraska is a 1.5 favorite. I saw the line that's recording at 7:30 right now. That's the line I saw. I think Texas A&M wins this game. I've scouted this Nebraska team. I've watched them. I've looked at the stats. I just think the way they play, they either kill you just based on the threes, or if they don't fall, I think Texas A&M wins this game. So if you defend the 3-point line well, you will win this basketball game. I really think that's what it's going to come down to. I think you're better at most everything. I think they're a better shooting team. If you defend them well and don't, now they're a pretty good defensive team as well. 31 in KenPom, but if you defend them well and don't let them make the 3-pointers, you can win this basketball game. So that is coming up tomorrow. NCAA Tournament is here, ladies and gentlemen. The Aggies have a big game coming up, and if they're able to win, they got a date with the Houston Cougars, and I am awfully excited about it. Texas A&M baseball got the win over Prarie View. We're going to have a conversation about that game. What happened, concerns, pros, cons. We'll talk about all that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. They also just started the Fire TV channels. Fire TV recently created the Fire TV channel to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest world of sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. So the baseball team was an interesting game. I believe Prarie View, I'm going to pull up the box score again, but they scored runs in the first 4 innings of the game. Texas A&M baseball. But I believe, I always write. Yeah, I'm going to double check on that. But, you win this baseball game 11-9. And one thing I'll tell you, and I say this all the time, I'm never going to apologize for winning a baseball game. That's one thing, I think fans have got to learn is you don't ever apologize for winning a baseball game. At the end of the day, stuff is going to happen where they scored 3 runs in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth. They go scoreless in the 5th and 6th. They score 2 in the 7th, and then scoreless in the 8th and 9th. Texas A&M scores 2 in the bottom of the first, 2 in the bottom of the third, 1 at the bottom of the 6th, a big old 5 spot in the bottom of the 5th, and then of course they don't have to. The bottom of the 8th, and they don't have to play the bottom of the 9th with the lead. You out hit Prarie View A&M 12-8, win the game 11-9. Jaylen Lavalette continues to do incredible things. 2 for 5 in this game, 2 homers. I saw it was his 4th multi-homer game, which is that shouldn't be possible. That shouldn't be allowed. Jaylen Lavalette is a player. I tell you this, enjoy what he's doing right now. This dude is going to be a pro. Go to games, watch him play. And when he's in the MLB, tell your kids, tell your friends, tell your buddies, tell your parents, hey, I got to see him play live a handful of times. I got to see him play live. He's going to be a star in the show. I feel confident saying that. You can see it in the swing. You can see it in the power. He generates his own power. He can go gap to gap. He does everything a player needs to do. So he has 3 RBIs in this game. Camarillo's 2 for 5, 2 RBIs. Shout out to Appel, who has the pinch hit go-ahead double that, was a tie game, 9-9, and then he has that double that makes it 10-9, and then another run comes in, and then the Aggies win this baseball game 11-9. So shout out to him. Pinch hitting, coming off the bench is like the hardest thing in the world to do. And he came in and was able to deliver a big time hit for the Aggies, a double to give them the lead in a game where, they were fighting. They were scratching and clawing to try and get a lead this whole game and try and so huge hit there. What frustrated me, so offensively, 12 hits, take that. Some homers, some doubles, extra base hits, we'll take that. We're cool with all that. What frustrated me, and as you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know, y'all already know what I'm going to say, but it was the free bases. 9 walks and a hit by pitch. You will lose baseball games to anybody. I'm not talking about SEC schools. We're not talking about Mississippi State, Florida. Anybody you play, you'll lose baseball games to NAI teams, Division II teams, if you walk hitters. It's so easy. No out walks. Look, the percentages on that, I mean, it's like the classic pitching coach cliche. The no out walk scores some crazy percent of the time. And it's true. It's like you can't walk players. Walks turn into runs. It gets the dugout fired up. Why do you think Texas A&M's ball 5, ball 6 chant works so well? Because it rattles pitchers. It gets in their head. Walks can't happen. You will not win baseball games if you walk this many players. Prarie View A&M is not a great baseball team. You beat them because you're the better baseball team, but you kept them in the game with walks. Now, yes, they had 8 hits, but 9 walks and a hit by pitch is not going to get the job done. Montgomery has 4 walks. Rudis has 3 walks. You have the hit by pitch to make it 10 free bases. Can't happen. Good for the staff for getting the pitch under some pressure. I think that helps you down the road, but got to cut out the walks. In this game, you get the win. I can sit here and nitpick because you get the win, but against Mississippi State, you can't let it happen. You cannot walk a ton of hitters. So I think Texas A&M gets this a good win. Good job come from behind. They kind of punch you in the mouth early. You do a good job staying in the game, answer some punches, and then give your huge right hook of your own in the 8th inning to get the win. But Mississippi State coming to town, I think the Aggies win this series. It'd be awesome if you could get a sweep. But yeah, I think Texas A&M wins this series. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun one. Going to be a good bounce back weekend from what happened in Gainesville. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really, really do appreciate it. Going to have an episode with Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC tomorrow, previewing spring. Fun episode, fun conversation. Have that for you tomorrow. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And then, y'all, what's coming at you tomorrow will be pre-recorded. So enjoy the NCAA tournament. Everybody have a great weekend. But we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here every single day. Really do appreciate it. This has been Locked On Aggies.